What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yeah.
So the Magic Man, Marlon Moraes, he has fallen on some really tough times. And this is kind of, we talked about Cody Garbrandt in this past video that we just did. We talked about Thiago Santos. Marlon definitely falls into that category of fallen from grace type of fighters. This guy was the champion. He looked unstoppable. And then all of a sudden he just gets knocked out with a vicious string of knockouts in multiple fights. And it's kind of sad to see, but honestly, this conversation to be had is all about Song Yadong. This 24-year-old is the real deal.
Yeah, and he's got some serious power, especially at 135. I mean, both of these guys came in bodied up and fully, about as full as you can get for 135, muscular-wise and everything. But, I do want to look at Marlon before we jump into giving all of the love and credit to Song Yadong that he deserves. Marlon is really in a tough spot. 0-4, that's rough. And the old saying, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Well, it looks like the chinnier get chinny, even more chinnier, right?
Yeah,
like the guys that get knocked out, they continue to get knocked out, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. Nobody's chin gets better with time. Nobody's chin gets better with conditioning. There's no way to do that. That happens is it slowly goes down. And if you are going at the UFC's level with the highest level fighters that there are at title fights and championship #1 contender fights, you're just going to be dealing with really, really tough dudes that know how to shut the lights out. And unfortunately, Marlon's had that happen to him 4 times in a row. And that's when you start to look at it as like, it's nothing you're doing. It's just your body is literally calling it quits for you. I mean, it's a way. Getting knocked out is a way for your body to shut down and keep itself from taking any more damage. Really, it's its version of calling quits.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And there's nothing that mental toughness or fortitude can do to reverse that. And I'm certainly no doctor, and I definitely don't play one on TV. But I will say that I have done some research on brain concussions, trauma, strikes to the head, what causes it, what causes CTE, and all signs point to, as you said, your brain, this is a defense mechanism, right? Your brain can only take so much before it starts to take lasting damage. And so the closer you get to that real lasting damage, the less your body and brain and your subconscious will actually allow you to take. So what it starts to do is shut off a little bit earlier, where it gave you a little leeway before, okay, that wasn't good, but it wasn't devastating. It's not causing lasting damage yet. We'll let you go a little longer. And then all of a sudden you got 4 or 5, 6 knockouts, and they've happened in a short period of time. Your body and your brain are like, nope, we don't care about the UFC belt. We care about long-term Magic Marlon Moraes. And that's what and your body just says, we've had enough here. And that's what's happening to Cody Garbrandt. That's what's happening to Marlon. That's what's happening to a lot of fighters in the UFC right now, especially a lot of those old school guys like Cody Garbrandt and Marlon, who put in some hard sparring rounds in the gym. And the sad story that nobody really tells is you see 4 knockouts in a row on Wikipedia. How many knockouts have actually happened? Because you and I both know they happen in the gym more than people care to talk about.
Yeah, it does happen from time to time. And if it's happening in the fights, unless they're completely keeping that guy away from sparring, which also isn't really something that's beneficial for your fight career, unless you're, one of those anomalies Max Holloway, you do need to spar. And eventually leading up to those fights, those last few weeks, you do kind of need to spar hard and pick it up and simulate a fight. And who knows what's been happening? But all I know is Marlon Moraes gave the sport so much, and he owes us nothing else. We owe him a ton. And if that was the last time we got to see him fight in the UFC octagon, I feel bad because it wasn't the way he wanted it to go. But nobody gets to go out really the way they want to on their own terms. And not even somebody that gets to go out undefeated like Khabib. Khabib had a dream of 30-0, and even that got taken away from him. So the sport is a rough sport, and everybody goes with a lot of negatives and a little bit of positives, and you kind of have to balance those out and take the good with the bad. And, Marlon is a living legend. He will likely get inducted into the Hall of Fame, but if I were him, I would probably shy away from taking any more concussive head trauma. But like you said, I'm also no doctor, and I don't want to pretend to be one. Also, I'm not his caretaker, so he's a man. He can make his own decisions.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't ever like to call for somebody to call it a career, especially when that's how they put food on the table for their family. That's how they provide. That's what they know how to do. And that's what obviously makes them happy to some degree, because that's why they do it. Right. But at the same time, you want to make sure that people have long-term, a clean bill of health long-term, so that when long after most people who are casual fans forget who Magic Marlon Moraes is, he's actually still doing okay. So that's got to be up for him to decide. I have not seen any news that's come out on it. It did look like he took his gloves off very fast last night. He was holding them in his hands. The body language to me certainly gestured that this is it for Marlon. But I guess the time will tell.
Yeah, and they never like to interview people that have been knocked out. That was something Joe Rogan said after he had done it, and it was just they were always falling flat. They were never good interviews, so he just called it. And the UFC kind of made all the other commentators that work on the nights Joe's not working follow that same plan,
which is a super smart thing to do.
Yeah, so he didn't get that opportunity to retire, and if that was something he was feeling into his mind. But he, like you said, longevity is the name of this game, and I think that Song Yadong, to brighten things up a little bit, has a lot of longevity in the UFC as far as what he can do with his career moving forward. I mean, at 24 years old, you're looking at a guy who's got the skills to become a champion. I mean, within 18, 24 months, he's going to have all the skills he needs to take it to a title fight and take it to a number one contenders match. I'm sure he's going to be working on all those things. And, at 19 years old, I think he was in the UFC.
Or a UFC fight. Yeah.
And so he's just a super experienced young guy. And that's one of the most scary things in this sport. You usually get guys who are well-rounded and experienced by the time they're in their mid-30s or early 30s. He's 24 years old, and he's as experienced as some of the mid-30-year-old guys.
The UFC loves a guy who is got more. They're already a contender, and they've got more than a decade left in front of them. That's like the marketing team's dream come true, because there's a lot that goes into marketing each one of these fighters. You got to set the cameras up. You got to send the camera crew out for the embeddeds if he's fighting on a pay-per-view. You got to do the countdowns. There's a lot. There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that are put behind a fighter who's going to become a top prospect or who's going to become a contender. And to have somebody who's that young be that good, the UFC certainly will have no problem putting some money behind Song Yadong, especially with the opening of the Asian markets, which are huge. We obviously have a performance institute that's coming or is in China, and so they're looking to expand that market any way they can. Uriah Faber is a great mentor for these young, smaller weight class fighters, and I think the future is very bright for Mr. Song Yadong.
Yeah, he's in the right place for a bantamweight. I mean, nobody has churned out better bantamweights and featherweights and champions from that part of the world than Team Alpha Male. So he's in the right spot. Vicious striking when it comes to this guy, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
Me either. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Drop us a comment and let us know what you thought of Song Yadong's performance last night, and if you think he's a potential title challenger at some point. Until the next one, have a wonderful day.
Peace.